So today I'm going to run you through the load and explode method. Really good for the driver, but will help you with all the clubs in your bag, but we are going to focus specifically on the driver. It's going to help you generate more speed, more power, and that ultimately is going to give you more speed in the club head. So what is the load and explode method? Well, it all really relates to how you use your body, which is where we get most of our energy from, and how we transfer that through the body out through the arms into the golf club. And the load and explode method refers to what we do to the ground, specifically with our lead foot. Now you're going to see a few images on the screen in a moment, which are going to highlight this. But let's quickly look at what the best players do and actually how they use this to help them get more speed. We're going to assume, I'm sure you've all got perfect backswings, so we're going to assume that you have got a perfect backswing. The way that we work from the top through impact is we have to load into our lead side. Once we've successfully loaded into our lead side, we can then use that energy to explode out through the golf ball. It's what the best players do, it's what the longest hitters do. And the more we research, the more we look into it, we can sort of start to see why that works. And we can use a few little keys, a few little concepts, a few little drills in this video to help you do that. So I want you to pay attention to my belt line. Now I appreciate you probably can't see that because of my jumper, but we're just going to visualize where that belt line would be. Now as I get to the top of my golf swing, as I start my downswing, I want to feel like I put pressure through my left side, my lead side. And to do that, my belt line is actually going to get slightly lower. Now that might be slightly exaggerated for the purposes of this video, but you can see how my belt line is getting lower. Notice how from that face on camera, my hips are also moving slightly towards the target. So what I'm doing is I'm loading into my lead side. I feel lots of pressure going through that lead foot. Now in a moment, we're going to give you a little key drill on how you can feel that, but it's that move which enables us then to make the second move. Now once we've loaded, pressure through there, belt line has gone lower, the golf club's going to be somewhere in the delivery position. What we then do is we use that lead side and we push up and we rotate and we push ourselves up towards our finished position. Watch my belt line now as I do that. My belt line rotates, but it also raises as I explode out of the golf shop. Now, I'm sure you've all seen videos of golfers where their feet lift and their feet move. It's not a fault. It's not something they're intending to do. It's just a result of a really efficient movement through the golf swing, and they're loading and exploding. So here's what we're going to do to help you sort of sense and feel that. I'm going to use my bag towel here, and this is perfect for this little exercise. You want something that's fairly soft, that's got a little bit of give, that'll kind of spring down and up. And you're going to place that pretty much where your lead foot would be. So my lead foot would be around about there in the golf swing. Now what we're going to do in a minute, you'll see that this needs to be something that you don't mind getting a little bit dirty, especially being in the winter. So I'm going to take my normal setup to this golf ball, but my lead foot is going to be slightly inside of where it would be normally. Normally it would be sort of here on that towel, but I'm going to start with it just inside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my backswing. Once I get towards the end of my backswing, I'm going to lift my lead foot and I'm going to really feel like I squash that towel. It might be a head cover, it might be a piece of sponge or something you can get your hands on. So I'm going to make my backswing, I'm going to get towards the completion, I'm going to lift my foot, and I'm really going to feel like I'm squashing or pushing into whatever I've placed on the ground. Obviously in this case it's the towel. So let me do that at pretty much full speed. Okay, and there's me loading into that lead side. Now, I can tell you, even just doing that little exercise, there's no downswing, there's no swing through, but it feels quite powerful. It feels like I'm starting to create energy from the ground. And that's exactly what we're looking to do in that first phase, that load phase. Really looking to create some force under that lead side. This is a great way for you to sense and feel that. I'd have you doing this in little groups of 10, you know, starting to build up a little bit of repetition, a little bit of speed. We go up and we load into that lead side, get that force going. Don't be afraid to let your hips start to sink a little bit and go a little bit closer to the ground. Just on a side note, this is a great little exercise for any of you who early extend, because when you early extend, what we tend to see is the belt line will actually move in towards the ball and raise. This little exercise here, we're almost encouraging this kind of squatting movement where we get the opposite move. So if you're an early extender, this is a great little exercise for you. So we've got the load phase. You're into your lead side. How do we explode out of it? Well, actually, it's much easier. And all I'd really have you do in this little section here is think about your belt buckle, think about the height and where it points. So if we get ourselves into our delivery position, we've loaded, my belt line is going to be facing pretty much out towards the ball or that camera, and I'm effectively going to get that belt to point at the target and rise up. So through the ball, I'm feeling my belt line rotates and rises. And I'm doing that through my lead side, through the push through my left side. Now, if I do that very slowly, my lead foot is never going to leave the ground. But if we start to do that with a little bit more force, you'll start to see there's some movement in that lead foot as we're starting to push away from the ground. The other way you can think about this, and it's going to achieve the same thing, is thinking about getting heavier to get lighter. Think about how much pressure I'm putting through my lead side. This would be increasing that weight or that pressure heavier, and then through the ball I'm getting lighter. I'm pushing away from the ground, and there may be a point at impact where my foot is applying very little pressure to the ground because I'm getting much, much lighter. So if you're, after a little bit more club head speed, load and explode. Use those little exercises and you can do that. So you'll see on the screen some visuals of me hitting a driver, and I've highlighted these points that we mentioned. So we're going to load in and then explode out. So one of the best ways I found to give your club head speed a little bit of a boost, it's going to give the ball a bit of a more distance as well. Shorter irons, lower scores, who doesn't want that? Thanks for watching. Hope that's helpful, and hopefully see you back here again soon for a future video. Thanks for watching.